How's it going, everyone? Austin Honecker here. I just wanted to come on here for a while and give them a review for All Elite Wrestling's AEW Dynamite from last night, which was August 18th, 2021. I gotta say, it was awesome from start to finish. For the matches, match 1, it was Sting and Darby Allin versus 2.0, which are Matt Lee and Jeff Parker in a Texas Tornado tag team match. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Sting and Darby Allin went over cause Sting made Matt Lee and Jeff Parker tap out to a double Scorpion Deathlock. Well, before the match, Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston were getting ready to come out, but 2.0 and Daniel Garcia attacked Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston from behind and beat the shit out of them. And then once 2.0 and Daniel Garcia got to the ring, Matt Lee got on the microphone and was talking shit and gloating on about how him, Jeff Parker, and Daniel Garcia took out Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston. And Matt Lee was also saying that him and Jeff Parker wanted Sting and Darby Allin right now and wanted a referee to come out and everything. So Sting and Darby Allin came out and everything, and the match started, which that was cool. That was before the match, by the way. Match 2, it was Sammy Guevara versus Shawn Spears. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Sammy Guevara went over with the GTH. Well, before the match, as Sammy Guevara made his entrance, Shawn Spears came out and was trying to attack Sammy Guevara from behind. Well, Sammy Guevara caught on to Shawn Spears, and Sammy Guevara and Shawn Spears were beating the shit out of each other, and then as they were beating the shit out of each other, Shawn Spears got the upper hand, and Shawn Spears and Tully Blanchard done their double pile driver their double team pile driver move on Sammy Guevara and laid him out, and Shawn Spears and Sammy Guevara got into the ring and the match started, which that was cool. And that was before the match, by the way. Match 3, it was the Young Bucks, which are Matt and Nick Jackson, versus Match 3, it was the Young Bucks, which are Matt and Nick Jackson, versus the Jurassic Express, which are Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, for the AEW Tag Team titles. That was a great match, but the ending to it, the Young Bucks went over and retained the AEW Tag Team titles, cause Matt Jackson pinned Jungle Boy with the BTE trigger from Matt and Nick Jackson. Well, after the match, as Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus were in the ring laid out, and the Young Bucks were in the ring and everything as well. Yeah, Matt and Nick Jackson were in the ring as well. Marco Stunt was already laid out because Kenny Omega laid him out with a steel chair before the match ended, but Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus were already in the ring, laid out, and Matt and Nick Jackson were in the ring as well, but Doc Gallows, Carl Anderson, Brandon Cutler, Michael Nakazawa, Kenny Omega, and Don Callis all got in the ring and but Doc Gallows and Kenny Omega, they brought out Christian Cage, while Matt and Nick Jackson, Brandon Cutler, and Michael Nakazawa and Carl Anderson were beating down the Jurassic Express and everything. Well, Don Callis came along too, and so Christian Cage was getting the shit beat out of him by the Elite, especially Don Callis as well. Don Callis got a stomp or something in, but the Elite, all the other members of the Elite beat the shit out of Christian Cage. And Kenny Omega executed the one-winged angel to Christian Cage, and the Elite celebrated and left the ring and celebrated and stood tall on stage, while Christian Cage and the Jurassic Express, which are Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus, and Marco Stunt, all were laid out in the ring and everything. That was cool. That was after the match, by the way. Match 4, it was Thunder Rosa versus Penelope Ford. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Thunder Rosa went over with a rear naked choke, and match 5, which was the main event, it was MJF versus Chris Jericho. That was a great match, but the ending to it, MJF went over with the salt of the earth. Now, besides the matches, AEW aired footage of Sammy Guevara proposing to his girlfriend Pam Nesio on either AEW Dark or AEW Dark Elevation, one of the two, and Sammy Guevara asked his girlfriend if she would marry him. She said yes, and they embraced a moment and everything. Well, then it cut on to, then Shawn Spears and Tully Blanchard cut a promo after the footage. Shawn Spears said, she said yes. Tully Blanchard said slim pickings. And Shawn Spears was saying, congratulations are in order. But Pam, how about you join the Pinnacle and you'll be on top? Because when you're in the Pinnacle, you're always on top and everything. That was cool. Tony Schiavone interviewed Christian Cage, and Tony Schiavone was congratulating Christian Cage for winning the Impact Wrestling title against Kenny Omega on AEW Rampage. And before Tony Schiavone could finish and Christian Cage could talk, Don Callis came along, and Don Callis was trying to suck up to Christian Cage, saying that they go way back 20 plus years. And Don Callis was also saying to Christian Cage that he gave him his first break in professional wrestling, and Don Callis was saying he was still on top of the professional wrestling business, while Christian Cage is still having wrestling matches and everything. And Don Callis was also saying that Christian Cage, even though he cheated against Kenny Omega with the steel chair, but he still came out as the Impact Wrestling champion. And Don Callis was also saying that even though he'll be facing the god of pro wrestling, Kenny Omega, at All Out, and even though Kenny Omega will win will hit the one-winged angel and win, Christian Cage will still have a 5-star match and everything. And then Christian Cage was saying, Don, yes, we've known each other for 20 plus years, but I did say that I was going to take the Impact Wrestling tag team, the Impact Wrestling title off Kenny Omega. I did. And I'm also gonna take what he desires the most at All Out and I'm gonna take the AEW title from him. And Don, things don't change. Like you said, things do not change. But one thing that has not changed is you're a carny piece of shit, and you always will be. So Christian Cage left, and Don Callis looked on all pissed off, and Tony Schiavone was laughing, and Don Callis told Tony Schiavone, he said, now don't say a word. And Tony Schiavone started laughing and everything. That was cool. Dante Martin cut a promo and was saying that last week on AEW Dynamite, when he teamed with the Sydal brothers, which are Matt and Nick Jackson, against the Elite, which are Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, and Dante Martin was saying how he took Kenny Omega to the limit in that trios match, and how he was going to be on the top of his game and everything. That was cool. Tony Schiavone interviewed Dan Lambert, who had Andre Arlovsky and Junior Dos Santos, a couple UFC fighters, with him. Well, Tony Schiavone introduced Dan Lambert and was getting ready to ask him a question, but Dan Lambert had Tony Schiavone give him the microphone. Well, Dan Lambert got on the microphone and was cutting a promo saying that AEW has been on the cancel culture train because he said something to hurt the AEW fans' feelings, and so AEW had Lance Archer beat up a 52-year-old man who was just speaking the truth about AEW. And this week, now this time that I'm here, I have backup because I made a phone call to my good friend, UFC President Dana White. And tonight, if anybody tries to beat me up, anybody that tries to beat my ass, I have backup. I have none other than two former UFC champions, Andre Arlovsky and Junior Dos Santos. And if anybody in AEW, and I'm going to tell y'all right now, AEW is not the answer to your prayers for professional wrestling. And all the AEW, all the guys in the back, all the guys in the AEW locker room are wannabe tough guys who can't wrestle out of a paper bag, wrestle their way out of a paper bag. And Dan Lambert also was saying that and Dan Lambert was saying, so if any of you guys in the AEW locker room have the guts to come out here to beat my ass, then let's do it and everything. And then Lance Archer came out and was getting ready to fight Dan Lambert, Andre Arlovsky, and Junior Dos Santos, but the men of the year, which are Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page, came out and attacked Lance Archer from behind, and Lance Archer got a little bit of offense because Scorpio Sky came out and attacked Lance Archer first, but Ethan Page came out from behind and beat the shit and attacked Lance Archer, so Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page attacked Lance Archer and beat the shit out of him, while Dan Lambert, Junior Dos Santos, and Andre Arlovsky looked on and everything. And Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page stood tall, and Lance Archer was laid out and everything, which that was cool. Chris Jericho cut a promo and was saying that for the past 4 weeks, I've been through hell. I've been powerbombed like 14 times. I've been on my back. I've went through hardcore. I went through some hardcore shit throughout the past 4 weeks, but I have surpassed them all. And tonight I finally get my hands on MJF. And I'm going to tell you right now, MJF, tonight I'm going to beat your little bitchy ass all over Houston, Texas, and I may not be able to use the Judas effect or come out to Judas, but I will still beat your bitchy little ass, and I have a lot of friends in Houston that are going to sing me to the ring. And Chris Jericho will go up, and my jerk-off friend will go down, and everything. That was cool. Tony Schiavone interviewed Britt Baker, Rebel, and Jamie Hayter, and Tony Schiavone was talking about how Britt Baker overcame Red Velvet and retained the AEW Women's title and everything on AEW Rampage last Friday. And Britt Baker was saying, yes, I did overcome Red Velvet, Tony, and I said I was going to do it. I done it, and I'm going to say right now, Red Velvet was a tough competitor, and she took me to my limit. But she's not very wise, because she thought that she could bring in backup with the likes of Chris Statlander, who's best friends with everyone, probably even including you, Tony Schiavone. And she thought that Chris Statlander could beat the shit out of me, but you failed to realize I brought backup, and that was my problem solver, my fixer, and my friend Jamie Hayter. Jamie, come along. So Jamie Hayter came along, and Jamie Hayter was saying, you know, Britt Baker and I go way back. And when she called me for backup after Red Velvet and Chris Statlander tried to do what they did, I said, yes, I will come for your backup. So Red Velvet and Chris Statlander both found out that what happens when they get my boots, and when they try to mess with Britt Baker. So Red Velvet, if you have the guts, then challenge me, then accept my challenge for next week on AEW Dynamite, because I will solve this problem, and I will beat your ass all over AEW Dynamite and everything. And then Britt Baker got on the microphone and was saying, Red Velvet, you may have said that red wasn't my collar, but I can assure you that gold is not your collar. So good luck next week in facing my problem solver, Jamie Hayter, because I am Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, and everything. That was cool. Matt Hardy and Orange Cassidy cut a promo, and Matt Hardy was pretty much saying that Chuck Taylor and Orange Cassidy were pissed at him because he was bullying their best friend, their best friend, Wheeler Yuta, because he's the youngest member of the Best Friends. Well, that's not the case, because I kicked Wheeler Yuta's ass in that trios match last week on AEW Dynamite, and he wanted a rematch against me on AEW Dark on Tuesday, last night. And he wanted to get his revenge, and he failed to realize he wasn't going to get his revenge. So I put him in his place. And Chuck Taylor, I will kick your ass again as well. And Orange Cassidy, I will. And Orange Cassidy, if you don't stick your lazy nose out of my business, then I'm gonna break your lazy nose off your face. And then it went over to the Best Friends, which are Chuck Taylor, Orange Cassidy, Wheeler Yuta, and Chris Statlander. And Orange Cassidy was saying, so Matt Hardy says he's going to kick my ass. Well, we'll see about that and everything. So, which that was cool. Tony Schiavone interviewed Paul White, and Tony Schiavone. Tony Schiavone introduced. Tony Schiavone interviewed Paul White, and Tony Schiavone introduced Paul White. Paul White came out, and Tony Schiavone was pretty much thanking Paul White for having his back last week when the Factory, which are QT Marshall, Nick Camarado, Tony Schiavone interviewed Paul White. Well, Tony Schiavone introduced Paul White, and Paul White came out to the ring, and Tony Schiavone thanked Paul White for having him and his son's back last week against the Factory, which are QT Marshall, Nick Camarado, and Aaron Solo, and everything. And Paul White said, "Tony, it was my honor and my privilege to stand up to be by you and your son Christian's side. But I also want to say, last week when I got in the ring, it felt great to get back in this ring. And I have a major announcement to make." Well, the Factory, which are QT Marshall, Aaron Solo, and Nick Camarado, came out, and QT Marshall was talking shit towards Paul White, saying, "Paul, you really want to go there? Like, I have a backstage role for this company, and I have something to show you to remind you why you need to stay out of the ring." So QT Marshall had, the Factory came out as Paul White was trying to make his announcement. The Factory, which are QT Marshall, Nick Camarado, and Aaron Solo. Well, QT Marshall was talking shit towards Paul White because he got on the microphone, was talking shit towards Paul White, and QT Marshall was saying, "Paul, you really want to go there? Well, I have a backstage role for this company, and I will show you why you need to stay out of the ring and only need to stay on commentary." So QT Marshall was showing some pictures of Paul White's dislocated hip, and QT Marshall was making fun of Paul White for it, and QT Marshall was saying, "There's a reason why Tony Khan hired you as a commentator and not a wrestler, because your time is up. You no longer have what it takes in the ring." Well, and then QT Marshall kept talking more shit to Paul White, and Paul White got on the microphone, and Paul White cut QT Marshall off, and Paul White was saying, "QT, you think you can get to me by what you just did? Well, you're sadly mistaken. And you think that me having 5 different surgeries within the past 18 months is going to limit me from doing what I want to do? Well, you're sadly mistaken, because I spoke to Tony Khan last week, and he's given me a match at All Out. And my opponent, and if you want to know who my opponent is, well, QT, at All Out, it's going to be Paul White one-on-one against QT Marshall." And so Paul White celebrated, and QT Marshall looked on all shocked and pissed off and everything, while Aaron Solo and Nick Camarado looked shocked as well and everything. That was cool. Mark Sterling and Jade Cargill cut a promo, and Mark Sterling was talking about how Kiera Hogan has been wrestling matches in AEW recently because she had a match on AEW Dark Elevation against Hikaru Shida and lost, and had a match against Chris Statlander on AEW Dark and lost. And Mark Sterling was saying that this Friday on AEW Rampage, Kiera Hogan is once again going to get her moment, that him and Jade Cargill are elated to let Kiera Hogan have her moment. But this time on AEW Rampage this Friday night against Jade Cargill. And Jade Cargill made Mark Sterling step aside, and Jade Cargill was saying, you know, since Miro destroyed Fuego del Sol last week on AEW Rampage, that gives me the motivation to want to destroy Kiera Hogan on this week's AEW Rampage, The First Dance. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to let Kiera Hogan have her moment, but I'm going to take it from her at the same time. And I'm going to let it happen on AEW Rampage, The First Dance, because I am that bitch, and everything, which that was cool. Tony Schiavone interviewed the Elite, which are Kenny Omega, Matt Jackson, Nick Jackson, Doc Gallows, Carl Anderson, Brandon Cutler, Michael Nakazawa, and Don Callis. And Tony Schiavone pointed out the obvious, that the Young Bucks did retain the AEW Tag Team titles against the Jurassic Express tonight on AEW Dynamite. And Don Callis was gloating about it and was saying, Matt and Nick, how about you all take 2 months off, go to Hawaii, get you a new pair of shoes, this, that, and the third. Well, Tony Schiavone informed Don Callis that he's been informed by Tony Khan that Tony Khan is getting fed up with the Elite's nonsense, so therefore they're going to have a tournament. They're going to have an AEW Tag Team tournament with the teams of the Lucha Brothers, which are Penta El Cerro Miedo and Rey Fenix, the Varsity Blondes, which are Brian Pillman Jr. and Griff Garrison, the Jurassic Express, which are Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, and Private Party, which are Mark Quinn and Isaiah Cassidy. And whichever team wins this tournament will face you guys, Matt and Nick, the Young Bucks, in Chicago at All Out in a steel cage match for the AEW Tag Team titles. And all the Elite got pissed off and left, and Tony Schiavone looked on and everything. That was cool. Taz and Hook of Taz and Hook of Team Taz came out, and Taz introduced himself and Hook while they were in the ring, and then Taz introduced Ricky Starks. Well, Ricky Starks came out, and Ricky Starks was saying that yes, I did say that tonight Brian Cage and I are going to talk face-to-face, man-to-man. So Brian, come out here now. And so Brian Cage's entrance music hit, and well, it went to backstage where Powerhouse Hobbs was standing over Brian Cage laid out. Well, Brian Cage got up, and Brian Cage and Powerhouse Hobbs were beating the shit out of each other, and Ricky Starks was all pissed off, and Ricky Starks had Taz and Hook come along with him because Ricky Starks was leaving, and Taz and Hook followed behind and everything. That was cool. Tony Schiavone interviewed the Death Triangle, which are Pac, Rey Fenix, Pena El Cerro Miedo, and Alex Abrahantes. Well, Tony Schiavone informed the Death Triangle that Rey Fenix and Pena El Cerro Miedo have an opportunity for the AEW Tag Team titles in an AEW Tag Team tournament to face the Young Bucks at All Out for the AEW Tag Team titles in a steel cage match. And Tony Schiavone informed Pac that he'll be facing Andrade El Idolo at All Out. Well, Pac got on the microphone and was saying, Andrade, you said, Pac said, Andrade, you told me you wanted a challenge, and I said any day, anytime, anywhere. Well, where better than All Out? And at All Out, All Out is the place that I obliterated the almighty Kenny Omega within a 2-week notice. And I will do the same to you, lad. So, at All Out, I'm coming for you, lad. Well, Andrade El Idolo, Chavo Guerrero Jr., and Andrade El Idolo's assistant came along, and Andrade El Idolo was saying, Pac, we do have our match at All Out, but in order for us to get that match, you have to follow my conditions. And my conditions are right here with my assistant. Well, Chavo Guerrero Jr. got on the microphone. Well, Chavo Guerrero Jr. was saying, yeah, Pac, you won't get your match with Andrade El Idolo unless you follow these conditions here. And as for you, Rey Fenix, Pena El Cerro Miedo, Lucha Brothers, I wish you both good luck in your tag team tournament, and I hope you all beat the Young Bucks for the AEW Tag Team titles. But even if you win the AEW Tag Team titles, you still will not be great champions with Pac as your boss. So think about it and everything. Well, Andrade El Idolo's assistant, and Chavo Guerrero Jr. left while the Death Triangle were looking on and everything. That was cool. Tony Schiavone interviewed Arn Anderson and his son Brock Anderson, and Tony Schiavone was saying to Arn Anderson that where he got attacked by Malachi Black and everything, and Tony Schiavone interviewed Arn Anderson and his son Brock Anderson, and Tony Schiavone brought up about Malachi Black's path of destruction and everything, and Arn Anderson was saying, yes, Malachi Black has been on a roll. He did beat Cody Rhodes fair and square, and he did take me out over a month ago. But I don't want to get emotional, and I don't want to keep talking about it. But next week, Malachi Black will be going up against my son, Brock Anderson. And son, I want to tell you, Malachi Black is a force to be reckoned with. And I don't want and I know you want to defend your old man, and I appreciate it, but it's not worth it. So think about what you're doing, because I don't want your career to end early. Then then it's already been started, because you've already had a handful of wins. You don't need to do this. And Brock Anderson said, well, Dad, with all due respect, the match has been signed. And also, Dad, with all due respect, I don't need your permission to face Malachi Black and everything. Well, Brock Anderson left, and Arn Anderson and Tony Schiavone were looking on and everything. That was cool. Miro cut a promo and was saying how he serves God every day and serves his hot wife every night, and was talking about how he destroyed Fuego del Sol last Friday on AEW Rampage, and he's not going to forgive Fuego del Sol because Fuego del Sol took the easy way out and accepted the AEW contract that he did not earn and everything. And then Miro was saying, Eddie, but since we're past Fuego del Sol, Eddie, I am now moving forward. And Eddie Kingston, next week, I want to talk and everything. That was cool. And Jon Moxley cut a promo saying how everybody has been coming to AEW because AEW is the hottest promotion around. We have a guy who's the AEW champion having an army to keep the AEW title, the AEW championship on him. You have a bunch of elite guys wearing Space Jam outfits, shooting basketball. You have Hangman Page, who has not gotten past his gothic emo bullcrap, his high school gothic emo bullshit, and Hangman Page thinks he's a cowboy, but he's not a cowboy. He's a whiny piece of shit. And also the soon retired Christian Cage, and Christian Cage should have stayed retired. But also I have carried this company on my back through the darkest days. And earlier, Daniel Garcia attacked me from behind. So, Daniel Garcia, you really want to fight Jon Moxley? Well, this Friday on AEW Rampage in the main event, you got it. Jon Moxley, Daniel Garcia, AEW Rampage. And I'm going to tell you right now, Daniel Garcia, you're just signing your own death warrant, because because the damage I'm going to do is inevitable. Because I'm going to destroy you, and I'm going to make sure you don't walk again. So see you on Friday on AEW Rampage and everything. That was cool. Now, besides all that, Jim Ross, Tony Schiavone, and Excalibur done commentary throughout the whole show. They done awesome as usual. And Don Callis done guest commentary along with Jim Ross, Tony Schiavone, and Excalibur during the match between the Young Bucks, which are Matt and Nick Jackson, versus the Jurassic Express, which are Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, for the AEW Tag Team titles. Don Callis done great on guest commentary. The referees for the event were Rick Knox, Paul Turner, Bryce Remsburg, and Aubrey Edwards. Okay. Bryce Remsburg refereed the match between Sting and Darby Allin versus 2.0 in the Texas Tornado Tag Team match. Aubrey Edwards refereed the match between Sammy Guevara versus Shawn Spears. Rick Knox refereed the match between the Young Bucks versus the Jurassic Express for the AEW Tag Team titles. Paul Turner refereed the match between Thunder Rosa versus Penelope Ford, and Aubrey Edwards refereed the match between MJF versus Chris Jericho. All the referees done awesome as usual. Now, the match card for next... Yeah, okay. Now, the match card for next week's All Elite Wrestling's AEW Dynamite... Well, the match card for next week's All Elite Wrestling's AEW Dynamite, it's going to be Matt Hardy versus Orange Cassidy. The Lucha Brothers, which are Rey Fenix and Pena El Cerro Miedo, versus the Varsity Blondes, which are Brian Pillman Jr. and Griff Garrison, in a tag team eliminator match. Malachi Black versus Brock Anderson, and Red Velvet versus Jamie Hayter. Those are the matches that have been announced so far on AEW Dynamite next week, and the match card for AEW Dynamite looks like it's going to be awesome next week. I'm looking forward to it. And the match card for tomorrow night's episode of All Elite Wrestling's AEW Rampage, it's going to be Jon Moxley versus Daniel Garcia. The Jurassic Express, which are Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, versus Private Party, which are Mark Quinn and Isaiah Cassidy, in a tag team eliminator match. And Jade Cargill versus Kiera Hogan. Those are the matches that have been announced for All Elite Wrestling's AEW Rampage. I'm looking forward to that as well, because the match card looks like it's going to be awesome for that as well. But anyway, I just wanted to come on here for a while and give them a review for All Elite Wrestling's AEW Dynamite from last night, which was August 18th, 2021. Like I said, it was awesome from start to finish. And with that being said, my name is Austin Honecker, and I will catch your ass down the road. Peace out.